Dear participants, welcome to day 2, session 3 of 1 week national level online faculty development skill development program on Let's Communicate Effectively, Transforming Communication Skills. In previous sessions, we have seen communication in general. We have also seen how human communication is a systematic process, a scientific process. We saw how communication is different in professional context. We saw various flow of communication. Also, we saw various barriers to communication and some of the tips to overcome those barriers. Having understood all about communication basics and communication in professional context, it is very important now to switch to the next part and understand the methods of communication. What are the various methods of communication and how to use them effectively? In today's session, we are going to see the two methods of communication, that is verbal and non-verbal. And we are going to focus more on non-verbal communication and how to use non-verbal communication effectively. Let's begin today's session, methods of communication, verbal and non-verbal. Now, when we talk about non-verbal communication, it is very important to understand what exactly it means and what aspect are involved. Though I am going to talk on verbal and non-verbal, both the methods of communication, our focus will be on non-verbal communication, non-verbal method of communication, because that is very important. It is very important to understand that particular method. Let us take a brief overview of the objectives and the contents, what we are going to see. Understand difference between verbal and non-verbal ways of communication. Understand difference between oral and written communication. Then know the importance of non-verbal communication and learn how to use non-verbal communication effectively with the help of the tips. So it is just focusing on non-verbal communication, having understood about verbal communication. Let's move ahead. I have deliberately started this with this. Now, I should have talked first on verbal communication, but let me give you the importance of non-verbal communication. Let us understand the importance of non-verbal communication, how it matters, and then we will start actually discussing about verbal communication. Okay, so here is a reflection spot for you. What you are supposed to do, just pause this video for a while and think on what percentage of message is conveyed or interpreted through words and non-verbal signals when you communicate. What you are supposed to do? Simply pause the video and think. Suppose you are communicating with someone, you are talking with someone, or you are listening someone. What percentage of message is conveyed with the help of words used and without the help of words used? That is your non-verbal signals. You can talk in percentage, 50-50, 60-40, 70-30, that 50% with words, 50% with non-verbal cues, non-verbal signals, and so on. So whatever you think, put it in chat box, put it in comment section. I hope you have come up with some of the percentage, and you may be right, you may be knowing it already, but I know most of the learners, most of the participants are not much aware about this fact. What is that fact? Number of studies worldwide on this complex topic. Excuse me. There are number of studies going on, already carried out and still being carried out on this complex topic of education field, that is non-verbal communication. Most of those experts agree that 70 to 90% of all communication is non-verbal. And out of all those experts, those researchers, the most well-known is by Dr. Mehrabin, who says that almost 90% of communication is non-verbal in nature. What was your percentage? You must have reached maximum to 70 and 30, but not beyond. According to Mehrabin, 93% of our communication is non-verbal and 7% of our communication is verbal, that is with the help of words. This is his research finding. He says that in a communication to convey message, the words play 7% role, paralinguistic features, that is your tone, intonation, stress, voice quality, that plays 38% role, and your non-verbal cues, non-verbal communication takes place at 55% level. Let me give you an example. Suppose you have a great achievement, you have just achieved a great achievement, a great success. Two of your friends are coming to congratulate you. First friend comes to you and says congratulations. The second friend comes, he says congratulations. He has a very pleasant smile on his face. His eyes are wide open and eyebrows are raised, and he is extending handshake. The first friend saying just congratulations, and second friend saying congratulations and using all those body language signals: eyes, facial expressions, smile and handshake. What do you think? Whom would you call for party of your success? Definitely you will call the second friend, because you know that the second friend is actually happy with your success. The first friend may be happy, but he may be feeling jealous, right? So now the word congratulations, same, but message, you interpreted that message in that way because of the non-verbal signals. That is non-verbal, that is the importance of non-verbal communication, and that is why non-verbal communication matters. Let's move ahead. Now these methods are divided, the methods of communication are divided in two types, just two types, verbal and non-verbal. In verbal, it is divided in oral and written communication. Most of the time we misunderstand verbal communication with only oral communication or spoken communication. No, it includes oral as well as written. And non-verbal communication includes, it has a list, and we are going to see verbal communication for a short while, and we are going to focus more on non-verbal communication. First, appearance, that is your over decoration. Kinesics, body language, gestures, postures, facial expressions. Oculesics, that is study of eye contact. Haptics, study of touch. Proxemics, study of distance. Chronemics, study of time. Paralinguistic, that is beyond words, tone, pitch, voice, intonation, etc. Some of the other ways like signs, symbols, signals, charts, graphs, and silence. Now I know these terms may be new to you, but don't worry about the terms. We will see the explanation, and our purpose is to understand what exactly that non-verbal communication plays the role, and how to improve that part of our non-verbal communication, and how it is relevant in our day-to-day communication as well as in our professional communication. Let's move ahead and talk about verbal communication now. Now, simply defined, what is verbal communication? It is communication with the help of words. Simple. Wherever you use words to communicate, that is verbal communication. Don't misunderstand it with speaking only. It includes speaking as well as writing. What are the examples of oral method of communication? Our day-to-day face-to-face communication, our telephonic communication, video conferencing communication or conversations, news on television, radio, FM, videos and podcasts on all electronic media and social networking platforms, seminars, conferences, group discussions, presentations, and so on. So all these are examples of oral communication method, oral method of communication. What are the examples of written communication? These are all the print media like newspapers, magazines, books, etc. Text messages on all social networking platforms that we are using, that is, let us say WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and so on. Then official correspondence like business letters, official letters, reports, business proposals, notices, circulars, and so on. All these are the examples of written communication. We feel that verbal communication means with the help of words. Yes, that is correct, but that has a huge scope, that has huge, let us say, spread across the fields of human studies. Let us move ahead and see. Okay, so let us first see now the importance of verbal communication. Though it is 7%, words are weapons. They can heal or they can kill. Use words carefully. That is, whenever you are communicating, of course, we must use appropriate words, suitable words, which are suitable as per the context. We are not going to focus more on that because that is a different topic of study. We are focusing on non-verbal, but it is very important to understand the difference between verbal communication, that is oral and written communication, in professional context, in business context, because in business context, oral communication plays different role and the written communication also plays different role. Let us see that difference. Look at this now. Oral communication is faster. Yes, it is very fast to communicate, but written communication is time consuming. It takes time to communicate. Oral mistakes are corrected immediately. Now when I am communicating, if I make some mistakes, I can correct them immediately. But suppose I have sent you an email and there is a mistake. It takes much time to correct that mistake. At least at least me to understand, realize that there was a mistake. But in oral, if I find any mistake, I can immediately go back and I can correct. Oral communication is flexible. I can change the sequence. I can change the flow. But in written communication, once you go on writing, you cannot add something in between. Oral communication has less or no legal validity. But written communication has more legal validity. And that is why, most of the time when we communicate with our friends and when somebody is promising, we usually say, give me in writing. Because written communication has legal validity. In the same way, oral communication cannot be kept as a record, but written communication can be. Then in oral communication, it is assisted with non-verbal cues. Now when we are communicating, we use eyes, we use facial expressions, we use gestures to convey the message. And I hope the way I am using my hands is helping you to understand the message, to interpret the message. That is, it is assisted with non-verbal cues. But in written communication, it completely depends on words. There are no cues. I know you are thinking now, what are the punctuations then? Yes, punctuations are the cues in written communication, but very few people are well aware about reading with punctuations. That is, even if punctuation marks are there, we do not, when there is a comma, we don't pause, we just go on reading. So written communication completely depends on words, whereas in oral, we have non-verbal cues to assist. In oral communication, we get immediate feedback. But in written communication, it is delayed feedback. It takes time. Suppose I ask you a question, you will immediately think on that and respond in the comment section or in the chat box. But suppose I sent you email, you will read and you will reply as per your convenience, taking your own time. That is why written communication is, in written communication, feedback is delayed. Okay, so with this brief information about verbal communication, having understood about verbal communication, let us now focus on non-verbal communication, the center of our today's session. So simply defined, non-verbal communication is communication without words. When you communicate without using words, that is non-verbal communication. It is most of the time misunderstood as limited to facial expressions. No, non-verbal communication does not only include facial expressions, it includes some other parts as well. It is a very, very vast domain of study, and as I told earlier, there are many researchers who have already done research and who are still researching on that. Most of the multinational companies are also hiring people to research on non-verbal communication, and they are giving training to their workers on improving their non-verbal communication. So this is what we are going to see: appearance, kinesics, oculesics, haptics, proxemics, chronemics, paralinguistics, others, and silence. We will see one by one each and we'll understand how to use them effectively. Let us begin with appearance. Do you agree with this? Or have you experienced this? People see before they hear. How? Let me tell you example. Suppose you are attending a seminar, you are attending a conference, a lecture is there, and you are one of the audience. You are sitting there, the speaker has not arrived yet, everybody is busy in their own talk. The speaker arrives on the stage. As soon as speaker arrives, you find him just going on the stage, standing beside the podium, looking for the projector and looking for the presentations, looking at audience, setting the mic, and so on. So you see that speaker before he speaks, right? So you are not just saying, you are not just looking at that speaker, you are interpreting that speaker on part of his knowledge, on part of his caliber, on part of his voice quality. That is, you will start interpreting that this speaker looks very much heighted and he is in a very good appearance. He has worn a very good shirt, very good tie, very good coat, shoes are very nice, the wristwatch is also very good, specs looking very nice. So the speaker may be knowledgeable. Like that, you interpret the speaker before he speaks. That is, people see you before they hear. You see the people, you are also seen by the people before you start speaking. That is why it is very important to know about the appearance. Now, based on what you are judging that speaker, not on his talk, on his appearance, the dress he is wearing, coat he is having, wristwatch and his hairstyle, everything. That is why appearance matters. So what is included in appearance? Clothes, dressing, hairstyle, accessories, ornaments, cosmetics, specs, shoes, wristwatch, everything that is included in appearance. And that is why we have to take care to select occasional appearance as per the need of the context. And usually we are using when we are informal, in informal context we are having different appearance, when we are in formal context we are having different appearance. Now, recent research has shown that appearance, it has changed from just a basic need to a medium of self-expression. It is not limited to just as a basic need. Now it has changed to a medium of self-expression, right? It communicates how we feel about ourselves and how we want to be viewed. So appearance, it helps us to feel, if I want to look good, depending on that I decide my appearance, as well as I want me to be looked, to be respected by the students. Keeping students and my visitors at the center, I do my appearance. I use all those clothes, hairstyle and everything, keeping that in mind. That is why everybody is agree with this, that it is not just the basic need now, it is medium of self-expression. Second, kinesics. Kinesics, simply it is body language. I hope you are agree and you know it, and you must have experienced most of the time this universal quote: action speaks louder than words. That is, instead of just speaking, your actions speak more than that. What is kinesics? It is study of body's physical movements, particularly movements of parts of body like face, hands, legs, etc. when you are conveying or interpreting the message. That is kinesics. For example, now I gave you one example before some time. Let us see the same example in different context. Like suppose you are congratulating. Now you are congratulating someone. You are congratulating two of your friends on their achievements. One with just congratulations words, and to other friend you are saying congratulations and you are having a big smile. You are on your face. You are extending handshake and your eyebrows are raised. Which is most impactful? Who will be more happy, the first friend or second friend? Of course, second friend. It shows even your relationship with those both of these friends. You may be very close to second friend, but for first friend you may not be that much close. But whenever you are doing this, it is better to use your body language irrespective of whoever you are congratulating. When you are congratulating, have a smile on your face, raise your eyebrows and shake hand. If not, at least just have eyebrows raised and smile on your face. Let's move ahead. Look at this now. Kinesics includes facial expressions, gestures and postures. Let us see facial expressions and its importance. Face is the most expressive part of our body. Everything is reflected on our face. And that is why I call it as a monitor or a screen of your system. It reflects everything that is in your mind. You cannot hide what is there in your mind. It is automatically expressed on your face. When you look at face of a person, you will automatically understand that person's emotions. Then look at this now. What all things are included in facial expressions? First, smile. The great source of connecting people. I hope you agree with me that smile is the great source of connecting people. Now it may have two types, positive and negative, but when I say connecting people, it is of course positive. So when you have a smile on your face, it shows friendliness, it shows approval. When somebody asks something and you smile, it means it is approval or agreement, that you are agree, or acceptance. So these are some of the interpretations, positive interpretations of smile. Negatively, it may be considered as a sarcasm, irony. You are ironically giving smile to someone, or you are showing dominance to someone, or it may be just fake smile. Now keep it in mind, if you want to create good friends and influence people, smile is the best way. Have it on your face always. It will reduce your stress. It will reduce stress of the person who is communicating with you. You may get your work done if you have a pleasant smile on your face. The second example, raised eyebrows. Now when I do this raised eyebrows, it has different interpretation in different contexts. It may be disbelief. If somebody is telling me something, I'll just raise my eyebrows to disbelieve him. Or surprise, if someone is telling me something, again eyebrows raised, maybe surprise. Questioning, same. And late understanding, right? Most of the time we don't understand message on that particular time. So after some time we understand and we say yes, oh okay, it is in that way, now I understood, and automatically our eyebrows are raised. Lip biting, it may indicate thinking, worried, unknown. You are thinking and you are finding a question, answer to a question, so you are unknown about that. It may also indicate that you are tensed. So these are some of the examples of facial expression. Face sends a series of messages in quick succession. Face may show anxiety, recognition, hesitation, and pleasure. Now you cannot say that our face expresses only one emotion at one time. No, in one succession it may express many emotions like all those. Let us see the next, and let me here give you one task. There are only 6 basic expressions, facial expressions, but they can have many shades and blends. Let us pause for a while here and identify the facial expressions based on the following pictures. And for this, let me thank my son Pratyush, because he helped me in creating these resources. Now instead of taking these resources from a book or internet and face the copyright issue and strife, I thought let us create my own resource, and I found him just playing around me, and I took his help to create these expressions. So there are 6, these are 6 basic expressions. Can you identify what is this first picture expresses? Second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. Now let me tell you the very interesting incident to click these pictures. Simply I told Pratyush that Pratyush, come here, I want to click your pics. You are going to appear in my presentation and you will be viewed by everyone on YouTube. He got very happy. And I clicked his pic. So this happiness, it shows happiness. Then I told him that okay, if you help me, then I'll give you a Cadbury tonight. So he got surprised. Without asking, I am giving him Cadbury. So he was surprised. Good, he said. Next I told that okay, I'll give you Cadbury, no problem, but at 4 o'clock today I'm not going to take you to play with your friends. He got disgusted. He thought okay, getting Cadbury is fine, but I'm not going to get the opportunity to play with my friends today. He got disgusted because something against his mind is happening. Then I talked something about Corona and its impact and the increasing cases and so on, and he gave the expression of fear. Then next I told him, all right, fine, tomorrow onwards your school is starting. He got very sad. School, when I said, he showed this sadness. And finally, when I was making him, asking him, convincing him for various expressions, he got tired and he got angry, and he simply said, now stop it, don't click my pics. So anger. So these are the 6 basic emotions or expressions: happiness, surprise, disgust, fear, sadness, and anger. Of these, happiness and surprise, they are positive emotions, they are positive facial expressions, and rest 4 are negative emotions. And we cannot hide. We cannot be sad when we are happy, or we cannot be happy when we are sad. Even if we try, people immediately understand. Let me give you example. Suppose you find your friend who is overtly smiling, but you find there is something going wrong in his mind or her mind. So you will say simply, what is wrong? Tell me. How you come to know about that friend's problems? Based on his or her facial expressions. Alright, let us move ahead. How to use facial expressions effectively? Number 1, you cannot hide your true feelings being reflected on your face unless you are trained. Just I told. You cannot hide your true feelings unless you are trained, the actors and the dramatists. And they are also using those fake facial expressions only for shooting time. In their real life, no, even they cannot hide. Use appropriate facial expressions while communicating. So when you are happy, let it be expressed on your face, and all those 6 basic facial expressions. When you are angry on someone, let it be reflected, no problem. Right? So you have to use those facial expressions appropriately based on the context. As well as interpret the mood, condition, feelings of people by reading their faces, facial expressions. And I hope you are using this. We do not usually pay attention. We are involved in our own thought process or in our own message, right? So instead of that, just for a while, think, look at the person whom you are communicating, look at that person's facial expressions, and try to understand try to guess that person's mood, condition, or feelings. That will definitely help you to be effective communicator. For example, if your friend is congratulating you on your achievement without smile, be sure that he or she is not actually happy. He or she may be feeling jealous or envied. So when someone is congratulating, communicating with you, just look at the face. You will get the true intention of that person. As well as when you are communicating, take care that you are using facial expressions appropriately. If someone is getting angry on you with loud voice but with little smile, understand that for him or her, relation is important than your mistake. Right? Someone is angry, but there is a smile. So you feel that, okay, smile is there. It means for a while, just for a while, that person is showing anger, is angry on me. Right? And the person is caring for the relation than focusing on your mistake. Let us move to second, gesture. Why gesture is important, what is gesture, and why it is important. So gestures means movements of your hands, head, particularly neck, and shoulders. So the way I am using my hands, the way I am using my head, and the way I am using my shoulders in my communication is known as gestures. Okay, here is again one reflection spot for you. Can you guess the number of hand gestures? Can you guess how many hand gestures are available in the world? The gestures, like I'm using my hands, I'm telling number, I'm using some symbols. What do you think? How many gestures can there be? Just pause and tell me in chat box, in comment section. Okay, I hope you must have come up with some number, and I'm sure you might have not got beyond 1000, 2000, 10,000 even. But to our surprise, there are total 7 lakh hand gestures according to this researcher. That there are around 7 lakh hand gestures. How many are we using? Are we aware that we have to use our hand gestures? No, most of the time we are not. We will see. Now, skillful and appropriate gestures add meaning to verbal communication. If you are using the hand gestures as well as your head, neck movement and shoulder movements, definitely they are going to add meaning to your communication. Opposite to that, irritating and awkward gestures like playing with fingers, pen while speaking. Now you are speaking and you are playing with your pen or playing with your fingers or playing with something in your hand. No, that is not allowed. That is not a good gesture. In the same way, if you are the listener and you are looking that person speaking as well as playing with the fingers and with pen, will you concentrate on his talk, his message? No, you will concentrate on his hand movements, his playing with pen and playing with some other objects. So that irritating and awkward gestures distract the listeners from the main message. Sometimes entire communication is conveyed with just gestures like thumbs up or thumbs down. Now thumbs up for encouragement or thumbs down for discouragement. Neck movement in positive or negative way to show agreement and disagreement. So sometimes simply when you ask question, how you understood, students? You find just movement of the neck. So communication is done, 100% communication just with the gestures, right? So let us move ahead. Gestures change meaning from individual to individual as per the context, culture and geographical conditions. For example, thumbs up is approval in most of the countries, but it is considered as offensive sign in West Africa and Middle East. And that is why it is very important to understand cross-cultural communication. And from cross-cultural communication, very important part is non-verbal communication. Okay, so let us see now the types of gestures. Again, the courtesy goes to my son Pratyush. He helped me in clicking these pictures, these gestures. So first type is enumerative. When you indicate some number, you use your hand gestures like this, 2, 3, etc. And you have to use, when you are communicating that in 2 days, you use this 2. In 2 days, I am going to do this. 3 of you should come. I give you 4 opportunities. Use your enumerative gestures when you are communicating. Descriptive. When you are describing something, you use descriptive gestures like this. So, for example, I saw a new pen drive which was very small in size. I'm saying very small and showing like this, right? So it is descriptive gesture. Symbolic. To show some symbols, the gestures are used like this. Emphatic gestures to emphasize the message, like not good or good, the emphatic gestures. Locative. When we want to locate something or someone somewhere, we use those locative gestures. And these are some of the mixed, spontaneous and unself-conscious gestures. Now, these above gestures are conscious. Now, when you are enumerating or you are describing or showing location, you are aware that you are using your hand. But these are the gestures where you are not aware that you are using gestures. You simply feel the need and you use the gesture as per the need. Okay, now how to use gestures effectively? First, must use gestures, particularly hands, judiciously while communicating in professional context. For example, avoid following gestures while presenting, lecturing. So what are the gestures which we should avoid when we are presenting or when we are giving lecture? Number 1, playing with pen and fingers. Don't do it. It distracts the audience. Hands in pocket or one hand in pocket and another working. We have the habit of putting both the hands in pocket and giving presentation or giving lecture. No, this should not be done. Or even it is not good to put one hand in pocket and use another hand to give explanation, give presentation. Avoid that. Closed or folded arms. Completely we cross the arms and we go on communicating, we go on presenting. That is also not allowed. That is also not good gesture. Excessive hand, neck, shoulder movements. We find that some of the speakers, they use gestures excessively. Excessive hand movements, excessive neck movements or excessive shoulder movements. Now when that is used excessively, that also distracts the audience. For example, suppose there is a teacher who has habit of shrinking the shoulders like this after some intervals. Now students, instead of paying attention to his teaching, will just count how many times he has used that gesture and so on. So take care that we are avoiding those gestures. Then how to use gestures effectively? First, use your hand gestures while giving number, talking about size and describing things. So use your hand gestures, particularly with the help of your fingers, 1, 2, 3, this much, that much, this much. So when you are describing or giving numbers or talking about size, use hand gestures. Use both the hands judiciously, keep them above your waist. So whenever you are giving presentation, use your both hands judiciously, keep them above your waist. They should not go below your waist. When needed, use them. If not needed, you can keep them in this manner and just use whenever you feel needful. Next, use whole palm to indicate something or someone instead of just pointing out. Now, pointing at something, pointing at someone is not a good gesture in most of the countries. So instead of that, you can simply use your entire palm, as we have seen in this particular image, or as XYZ has just said. And this is very important in group discussion, right? You should not point out at the candidates. Even whenever you are in any kind of discussion, do not point out as he has said. No, you say as my friend has said, as this particular gentleman has said. Use your entire palm, not a single finger. Use your neck and shoulders also judiciously. Most of the speakers, when I talk about the speaker, I mean students, I mean teachers, I mean every professional who is giving some kind of presentations. What habit they have? We have habit of using hands. Definitely, we have a habit of using good facial expressions, but we don't use our neck as well as we don't use our shoulders. So neck movements are also very important when you are communicating. The neck movements also play some message, right? Okay, now postures. The second part of kinesics, postures. What is posture? It is simply the way you sit, stand and walk. How you are sitting, how you are standing and how you are walking, that also communicates something. And there are certain standard ways of sitting, standing and walking that conveys something. Like postures indicate or convey position, hierarchy, success stories. Now look at a person who is very much successful in his or her life. You will find him sitting very confidently, standing very elegantly and walking also with very much proud. You will immediately identify that he must be a well-known and a successful person, because the postures indicate. The way you sit indicate what kind of person you have, what kind of hierarchy you have. The way students sit, the way teachers sit, the way principal sits in his or her cabin, that indicates the position. And that is the importance of postures. In informal situations, we are not much conscious about our postures. When we are with our family members and with our friends, we do not pay much attention how we are sitting, how we are standing and walking. But that results in a habit which automatically is reflected when we are in professional context, where we are much conscious about our postures. For example, when we are in a presentation and meeting. That is why not to practice having good postures in informal situations as well. Once you get your postures right, you will automatically start feeling better. That's why I said that we should practice, like simply when you are sitting, sit comfortably. When you are standing, stand on both the legs, not one leg and rest on another leg. When you are sitting, not you are just putting one leg on another leg or crossing your legs. No, when you are walking, you should know the importance and the situation and the context, and accordingly decide your speed, slow, fast, medium. So practicing like this, once you get your postures right, definitely you automatically feel yourself better. All right, the next reflection spot for you now. What you are supposed to interpret here, just try to find out the gesture, the postures and what they convey. There are 6. These are 6 postures. What do you think? What this posture conveys? Slumped, erect, leaning forward, leaning backward, crossed arms, uncrossed arms. Can you put in the text box in comment section what each communicates and reflects? All right, let's move ahead. So look at this now. The slumped posture, when you are sitting like this, it indicates low spirit, disappointment and not interested. When you are sitting like this, it shows high spirit, energy and confidence. When you are sitting straight and leaning forward, it shows that you are interested, you are open-minded person, you are honest person. But if you are leaning backward like this, it shows defensive, it shows again disinterest, disbelief. If you are sitting like this, crossed arms, you are defensive, you are not ready to listen, and even you are not ready to agree. And this one is uncrossed arms and using your gestures here, it is open, listening and interested. Now I would suggest to use this erect posture, leaning forward and uncrossed arms. Avoid these three gestures. Avoid these three postures. Okay, let's move ahead. Oculesics, that is eye contact. Now look at this. Do you agree? Yes, everybody agrees. Everybody is well experienced about this statement that our eyes are windows to the soul. Whatever there in your mind is reflected through your eyes. And that is why most of the time, whenever we communicate, we say, look at me, look into my eyes and tell. Why? Because you want to check the authenticity of the message. You want to check if the speaker is giving correct information or not. And that's why we say, look into my eyes and tell. Now, eye contact is a direct and very powerful form of non-verbal communication. Let me give example of this power of eyes. Suppose now kids always mischievous at home and they are more mischievous when there are relatives at home. So when relatives come, they get more noisy, right? Now mother, she has to make them keep mum, but she is not allowed to scold in front of the outsiders, the relatives. What mother does? She simply stares at the kids. She simply looks continuously at the kids and a little bit eyes are raised. So the kids understand that we have to stop now, otherwise it is going to be very difficult later on. They simply, whatever they are doing, they stop it and they go. Either they get busy in studies or they will not do studies, but they will at least sit, keep mum. They will not be much mischievous. That is the power of eye contact. Second, friends indicating someone in the library. Suppose you two are doing studies, you and your friend just looks at you and looks at something or someone. You also look at that, the message is done, the communication is done. Right? The friend wants you to look at that particular person or that particular thing. You understand, you look, you do some kind of nodding and communication is done. Next, blinking of eyes, one eye or both the eyes during conversation. Right? So when we are communicating, we sometimes we blink both of our eyes to say that for a while just agree. For a while just say that agree. For that we just blink our eyes. Or blink one eye. Now blinking one eye definitely has different interpretation, but that also means just for a while avoid the message or believe me or accept me or just listen. Let us see what happens next. With this, let us go ahead. Now eyes are a rich source of feedback. We look at the eyes of a speaker to find out the truthfulness of his or her words, attitude, feelings and intelligence. We look at the eyes of the speaker to find out because the eyes are the great source of feedback. Avoiding eye contact indicates either you are feeling guilty or you are lying or you are cheating someone or you don't believe or you are less confident or you are afraid of something, or maybe sometimes we avoid eye contact because we have respect for that person. So whenever you come across of these kind of eye contacts, just interpret whether it is for respect or cheating or guilt and so on. Let me give example. Suppose son has done some wrong thing and father or mother is asking, tell me, did you do this? Son just looks down. He is not having eye contact with his parents. So looking down indicates feeling guilty. And automatically parents say it's okay for this time. Don't do it next time. Eye contact conveys emotions, signals when to talk or stop, indicates direction as well. Yes, eyes definitely convey emotions, and that is why there are so many songs on eyes in all films. in all languages. Just this is a task for you. Find out how many songs are there in Hindi and Marathi and in your own mother tongue which include I word or based on I's. There are so many, because they are rich source of feedback, they are rich source of effective communication. They may signal when to talk, when to stop. Like just I blink the eye, keep mum. Just I show that you now, suppose I am conducting lecture and I just look at one, I ask a question and I look at one student. The student will automatically will stand and will give the answer. That is to talk or to stop. It may indicate direction as well. To show direction, we can use eye contact. Now, eye contact is very important, especially when we start a conversation. When we begin the conversation, we must use eye contact. We must look into the eyes of the listener directly. Looking directly at listener builds rapport. When you look at the listener directly, it builds rapport. Listener also connects with you immediately. Now 3 to 5 seconds continuous look without giving it nature of staring tells the audience that the speaker is sincere in whatever he or she is saying. So when you look at the listeners continuously for 3 to 5 seconds, automatically they will concentrate on you and they will believe in you. Now we have to just take care that it is not converting into a stare, just looking with some doubts. It should be pleasant and convey, your eye contact should be pleasant and it should convey, I am pleased to talk to you, believe in what I am saying, or I am pleased to listen you and I am believing in everything that you are saying. However, use of eye contact is culture specific phenomenon. Of course, all non-verbal communication itself is a culture specific, but eye contact is also one of that. For example, Arabs, Latin Americans and South Europeans look directly into the eyes, whereas Asian and Africans maintain far less eye contact. Now, let us see some of the guidelines for effective eye contact. Number 1, have direct, friendly and pleasant eye contact. Do not avoid eye contact. Look into the eyes directly. Be friendly and pleasant. Of course, it takes time and it needs experience and practice. You should practice. You will not get the some medicines on that to improve your non-verbal communication, to improve your eye contact. You need to practice it deliberately and get the experience. Now, if you are not able to connect or you are not able to have direct eye contact, what you are supposed to do? Look at something else on the listener's face. You can just look around, but show that you are looking at the listener. You are looking at the speaker. When speaking to a group, look at everyone. Suppose you are speaking to a group of 5 to 10 members, you have to look at everyone and communicate, even if you are responding to the person who has previously spoken. Particularly when you are in a group discussion, I usually tell that, and it is usually expected that you have eye contact with all the other group members. The same is in meetings as well. Look at the people who are key decision makers or who hold power. Suppose you are in a meeting, in a business meeting, you definitely would have identified a person who is going to make the decisions, right? And you are giving presentation. Yes, have eye contact with all, but focus on the person who is key decision maker. While presenting to a large audience, you should divide them in 2 to 3 sections. Suppose you are addressing the audience and the venue is wide, so divide those audience into 3 to 4 sections and look at each section every time repeatedly. That will connect you with the audience. Look at the reactive listeners. Now, when you are giving presentation, when you are giving lectures, you will find some of the audience, they are reacting by nodding their head, by showing smile on their face, right? Or by even smiling and noting down something. So look at them and just tell or convey that you are giving all the information for them only. That will again build a good rapport with the audience. Avoid looking at floor, wall or something else when delivering presentation or when you are delivering a lecture. Now, when we are in lecture or in any field, the novice presenters have this habit. Like they either look down or look at the wall or they look at something else and they avoid eye contact with the audience. Don't do that. Avoid looking beyond the audience. This is something, new, looking beyond the audience. That is, we do not want to look at anyone. We just look backside, back wall, back curtain, or even beyond that. Why? Because we are busy in our own thought process. No, you should connect with the audience. Do not look at bad listeners who deliberately may want to distract you. Yeah, there may be some people who want to distract you, right? It may be their nature. We cannot interpret, we cannot say that they are your rivals, or they are not your friends, and so on. Simply, there are some people and it is their habit. Instead of changing them, let us change ourselves. So avoid them. And let me tell you, there will be 3 to 5% of such people everywhere. So don't hamper 95 to 97% people just because of those 3 to 5%. Focus on those 95. And last, avoid staring the speaker or the listener. Do not stare with some doubt, having a question on your face, and look at the audience, as well as don't look at the speaker. Now let us move ahead and see about the haptics. But before that, let me give one example of eye contact here. Once Bill Gates gave a presentation to 10,000 audience, and one news channel anchor wanted to take interview of Bill Gates, and he called Bill Gates and said ki you gave very wonderful speech to 10,000 audience. None of them was noisy and everybody listened you and appreciated you. Bill Gates said, no, I didn't give speech to 10,000 people. I gave speech to only 3 people. The anchor gets surprised. How is it? Why you are saying so? So Bill Gates simply said that from the audience, from 3 different corners, I picked 3 audience who were looking at me, and I kept my communication, my presentation limited to these 3 simultaneously, in succession. That is, Bill Gates selected these 3 audience and presented by looking at them, but showing that he is looking at all the audience available on that venue. That is the power of eye contact. Let us move ahead and see what is haptics. Again, another important part of nonverbal communication. Simply define, haptics is nothing but communication through touch. What is that? Touch conveys many factors such as intentions, feelings, relationship, respect, encouragement, and so on. How? Let us see. Patting the back by the boss or teacher after presentation. Suppose your teacher or your boss pats your back after your presentation. You feel very much encouraged. Teacher or your boss does not say anything, but that haptic, that touch encourages you, and that is the feedback. Then shaking hands. It also indicates something. When you are shaking hand, you are actually connecting with the people. Hands across the shoulders. When we have hands across the shoulders, it shows you are very close friends. Touching of feet or head. Suppose you are touching feet of your elders, you are taking blessings, and the elders touching your head, they are blessing you. So that communicates a lot. Holding hand or hands when someone is sad. You hold someone's hand when that person is sad. It indicates you are feeling empathetic for that person on his sadness. A hug or cuddle by near ones is nothing, there is no great support than their hug. That is a part of haptics. Proxemics is nothing but physical space in interpersonal relations. What is proxemics? It is just the physical space. In other terms, it is distance in interpersonal relations. When you are communicating with someone, how much distance, space you are keeping, that also indicates something. For example, look at this now, the image taken from this source. Now, the first one is intimate space, which is 1 to 5 feet. Intimate, look at this now, very close. What does this indicate? Mother, child, family members, spouse, and lovers. They are very close, right? There is the distance is, the space is 0 to 1.5 feet. Second, this now, second circle, it is personal, which ranges from 1.5 feet to 4 feet. And it is when we are with our close friends, with our colleagues, with our peers, we have this one. Even with our relatives, This is called as personal zone. Next is social, which ranges from 4 feet to 12 feet, and it is formal and official relations like all office and workplaces, and it is from 4 to 12 feet. And this one is, look at, even the images are professional, right? When we are in professional context, we are not very close to each other unless we are friends, unless we are relatives. And the last one is public. The public distance, that is extremely formal and for the sake of security, position, etc. Look at this now. The public distance, public space, which shows the authority, which shows the position. How you observe that when you go and visit your teachers or your principal's cabin, there is a big table. Why? Because that keeps the distance, that shows the formality, that shows the position. When you go in the offices of government officers, collectors and DSPs, you will find that they are sitting far away and you have to stand far away from them and speak, because security, it is a public distance. So proxemics, take care that you are using or you are aware about this and you are following that accurately. Next, chronemics. Now what is chronemics? You must have interpreted with this GIF. Chronemics is study of time. And look at this statement. If you respect time, the world will respect you. Everybody is aware about this. We should respect time. We should utilize time properly. But how time communicates? Let us see. It is the study of how human beings communicate through their use of time. It is not just about time. It is use of time. How you are using your time. Are you sincere? Are you always dedicated? Are you dedicatedly using each and every second? You will be appreciated by everyone. Are you on time for a meeting? Are you on time in class? Are you on time for the presentations? Even do you end your meeting and presentation in given time? You will be respected. You will be followed by many. Otherwise, we know. Now, in professional world, time is a very valuable resource. In professional context, everything happens around that particular time, and the people who are respecting time keep progressing. People who are not respecting time, they lay behind. Being on time, in time, beyond time decides our personality. Just I told. Time is perceived in different ways in different countries. Of course, that is so. And it is said that Indians are liberal with time. That is, this is our common experience, that we do not start anything on time. Even our lectures start 5 minutes late. Meetings start 5 to 30 minutes late. Presentations, everywhere we Indians, we take it casual. If my program is at 10, I have to wait till 10:30. Or I should go by 10:30, because till then audience will come. Audience also have assumption that program is at 10, it will start at 11. The speaker may get late or the audience may get settled and so on. But my friends, being on time, using time appropriately definitely gives you great rewards. Understand chronemics and use your time properly. Let us move next. Paralinguistic features. It refers to communication beyond spoken words. The voice is an extraordinary human instrument, and the voice has these kind of paralinguistic features, like tone is what? Your physical level at which human sound is transmitted. The tone may be direct tone, it may be commanding, it may be loud, harsh, soft, gentle, pleasing, nasal, and so on. So your tone, your voice communicates. Suppose a man is there, but he is speaking like woman. His voice is like, let us say, woman. So we understand that there is a problem, or we have different interpretations. Same is in case of, suppose a lady is there, her voice is very bold. So we feel that as if she is talking manly. In the same way, we use different tone to communicate to different people. Next, pitch. The quality of a sound governed by the rate of vibrations producing it. The degree of highness or lowness of a tone. For example, whether high tone or low tone. The pitch, the speed. Volume, loudness and softness of your voice. That also communicates. When you say something, for example, you want to keep, you want to instruct the students, you simply say, students, look at me Nobody listens. You raise your volume, you raise your tone, you raise your voice. Students, look at me. All the students will look at you. That is the use of paralinguistic features. Same words, but because of these paralinguistic features, you communicate effectively. Intonation is nothing but rhythm. Now look at this. You are the owner of this expensive car. If used in 3 different intonations, it may be just a statement, it may be just a question, it may be exclamation. How? For example, you are the owner of this expensive car. Simple statement. You are the owner of this expensive car? Question mark. You are the owner of this expensive car? Exclamation. So the intonation changes the meaning. Intonation conveys different meanings. Again, look at this now. Another statement which will stress the importance of paralinguistic features, particularly stress. Now, this is the statement, my boss gave me this task, and I use various stress on various words to give different meanings. For example, I say, my boss gave me this task. My boss gave me this task. You are focusing on my boss, not some other boss. Now you are giving stress on giving. So you say, my boss gave me this task. My boss gave me this task. So you are focusing on giving, right? He has given task to you. And next, my boss gave me this task. You are saying, you are stressing on me. My boss gave me this task, not someone else, but me. And the last, my boss gave me this task. So what you are saying, you are focusing on the task now. My boss gave me this task and let me complete it, and then I will do your task, and so on. So in various contexts, you stress on various words. That is nothing but paralinguistic features of nonverbal communication, and we should use all those paralinguistic features. Let us see some of the other, like signs, symbols, signals, like traffic signals, this road symbols. They are also communicating something. The traffic signals and signs, just I told, schools or college bells, office bells, they indicate something, and we have varieties of bell used for the authorities now. You know, different bell for different authorities. They also communicate. Graphs, charts, images, artifacts, everything, they are the other way of communication without words. Let me focus on this last part, that is silence, how it also communicates. Now, if I say that action speaks louder than the words, I'll again add silence speaks louder than the actions. Sometimes not taking action, not reacting communicates than reacting or taking actions. Do you agree? I hope everybody agrees. And we have to use this silence effectively. Now, listen to silence. It has so much to say. Just sit idle and experience the silence. You will automatically get solutions to all your problems, to all your difficulties. Be silent. And why is it so? Because look at this now. Listen and silent have same letters. Think on this. Listen, for that you have to be silent. You cannot, as I said, listening. We are going to say listening is the mother of all the skills. And a good listener will be a very good communicator. But to be listener, you should be a silent listener. Listen definitely will improve your personality. Someone prefers silence when he or she is feeling guilty, is unaware about the matter, or want to avoid conflicts, maybe is afraid of someone, or sometimes it is for showing respect as well. Silence is the best answer to someone who does not value your words. Look at these two, words and silence. Words verbal, silence non-verbal. If somebody is there who is not valuing your words, just keep silent and go ahead, go on. That is the best response. Now let us come to the last part of this today's session, and learn some of the tips for effective use of non-verbal communication. It's very important to project oneself as positive and professional, not just by words, but through actions as well. So what we should do? Tip number 1, observe and understand non-verbal signals being sent towards you on a moment-to-moment basis. Always interpret, always find out why the person is moving head, why the person communicating and smiling, why the person is looking down, why the person is avoiding eye contact. from moment to moment, not every time. From moment to moment, interpret that. If you are not clear, you can ask, okay, you said this, but you did not look at me when you were saying this. Are you really interested in that? Do you really mean the same? You can confirm. Use appropriate eye contact. Very important, have direct and friendly eye contact. Practice this. As I told, practice makes man perfect. Stop doing or talking when your listeners look disinterested and bored. Now, most of the time you find that your listeners are not interested, but you are keeping going, you are just keeping giving the information. When you find that the audience, the listeners are bored, keep mum, stop. You can simply say, that is what I wanted to tell. Go ahead and stop. Or if you have to give next message, involve the audience in your talk, involve the students in your talk, involve your friends in your talk, take their opinion, give them some task, and then continue your presentation. Adopt the most suitable posture as per the occasion. Based on the different occasions, decide how to sit, walk, and stand. Thank the audience for listening you with your eyes and smile also. Now, when you are saying something, the audience are listening. At the end, thank them by, of course, words, your eyes, and a smile on your face. Remember, nonverbal communication is culture specific. And be aware about differences in different cultures before you use those nonverbal cues. Practice suitable facial expressions, gestures, postures before an important event. Suppose you are having presentation tomorrow, just practice in front of mirror for a while. Or now the recent technique is practice in front of camera. Record yourself for a while and just check your nonverbal communication. Are you conveying the same message that you want to convey, or you are giving very good message but you are very, very unexpressive on your face? Try this. Unless you see yourself, you will not be able to understand. So practice those facial expressions, gestures, postures before important event. And don't forget that silence is also a part of nonverbal communication. When needed to avoid conflict, you have to use silence. To answer someone better than answering them in words, your silence is the best way. To conclude, let me end up with these very good quotes. The body never lies. You cannot lie. You may lie through your words, but your body doesn't. And this one, very favorite. Our bodies are apt to be our autobiographies. If you want to write your autobiography, no need to go back and interpret. Just look at your body. Your bodies are communicating everything. They are communicating your truthfulness, they are communicating your belief, they are communicating your conviction, and so on. So our bodies are apt to be our autobiographies. That is the end of session 3, day 2. But here is activity for you, and you are supposed to complete this activity. It is just, of course, out of interest. I am giving those activities and expecting you also to take part in these activities out of interest, not as a part of assignment. Number 1, how do we interpret the following nonverbal cues sent by others towards you? When you are communicating with someone, you see these following nonverbal cues. How do we interpret, and are they same at all time? What are those? Yawning, keeping silent after a question or remark, dropping shoulders, raised eyebrows, cleaning the throat. You are communicating and you find these nonverbal cues. What they communicate to you. Second, analyze the kind of nonverbal cues you send and receive when you interact with your professors, with your students, with your boss, colleagues, relatives, or a stranger. Do you confirm? Now, after analyzing your nonverbal cues that you send or you receive, do you confirm this, that 93% of message is conveyed through nonverbal communication, or you don't confirm, or you feel no, I don't agree, most of the message is conveyed with the help of words? You will find that it is true that 93%, almost 90%, 90 to 95% communication is nonverbal. And the last one, it is just interesting. Find out 10 idiomatic expressions containing the names of the parts of human body. For example, seeing eye to eye. Second, tongue in cheek. Now, seeing eye to eye is completely agreement, and tongue in cheek is ironical talk or ironical writing. Like that, find out 10 more idiomatic expressions which include human body, part of human body. With this, let me end today's session. These are the reference books and the sites which I have used for my presentation. Thank you very much for listening me and completing day 2 of this FDP. We will see let us meet in day 3 session 4, where we are focusing on listening skills. Thank you very much.